Hi everyone, it's Catherine Davis from the creative team. Today I'm going to show you how I made my magic layout from the December kit creative gallery. The first thing I went for in this kit were the craft embellishments that Jasmine drew. I decided that I definitely didn't want to use just one or two, and I wanted to use basically everything. So I decided to make a wreath, but I knew that it would need a little bit more than just placing those craft die cuts in a circle, so I decided to start tracing the shapes on some of the pattern papers this month. So I went through, and once I was done tracing out some shapes, I would just cut them out. I'm speeding this up a little bit because I know you don't want to watch me cut out a million flower shapes. But once I was done doing that, I started kind of playing around with the different patterns and how much of which pattern I wanted on the page. And I just started moving around all the different shapes. I printed out this photo of my daughter Charlotte, and I knew I wanted that to be kind of the image that brought in kind of like that peachy color that was in some of the papers in the kit. So I just started working my way around. I made sure that I distributed the larger flowers with the smaller ones so that they were in proportion. And I love that there were leaves and some kind of vines to stick in there to kind of poke out and give it some movement. And then I just started cutting out some more shapes. It was kind of trial and error, trying to figure out how much I wanted to cut out of the pattern paper. Once I had an idea kind of the wreath shape that I wanted to make, I realized that the photo that I had printed out of Charlotte, it just seemed a little small and it wasn't quite working. So I measured out how big I thought I would want to go, and I printed out a new image that was a lot longer and skinnier, and I felt like it balances the wreath a little bit more, and it also kind of gives the photo a little bit more of a focal point like that. And then it was time to get this down with some adhesive. I definitely wanted to use some foam dots to kind of add some dimension. So I was sure to add them under like every other shape. So it just kind of gave it a little bit of pop. And I see that shadow that gets created. I really like how that looked a lot. As I went through, I kind of played around with what direction I wanted the different shapes to go and which way I wanted things to go. With any project, it's just constant kind of tweaking and just thinking in your head, is this right? Is this balanced? I'm not sure. I do that with everything. I second guess everything, and I kind of make sure that but especially once I get the adhesive into play, that it's where I want it to be. Once I had the base of the layout down and glued onto the paper, I knew I wanted to just give it a little more interest. So I grabbed the stamp from the main kit and just started looking around and playing with which stamp I wanted to use, which sentiment I wanted to use with the wreath. You'll have to excuse my stamping on this project. I had actually taken my acrylic blocks to work on something last minute, and I ended up stamping with the lid of a case. Hey, it works. It happens. It's not ideal, but it worked for here. And I used the cement pigment ink, Color Theory pigment ink, which I love. And then, of course, if there's a cluster of stars, I'm going to use them. So I started kind of wrapping them around, and I really love how they just kind of accented the page. So for here, I decided that I really like the stripes at the base of one of the papers. Got to always use that strip at the bottom. Again, I just wanted to add a little more interest to the right side of the page where the photo was. It just felt like there was a little more space to the right than to the left. Hey, it happens. But I actually feel like it was a happy accident because I really liked how these looked. I went in with a pencil to add just a word. I like to add a little tiny bit of my handwriting if possible. And I thought a pen, it just wouldn't look great with the ink, so I went in with a pencil and did it. Um, then I used my tiny attacher, one of my favorite tools ever, to stick those strips down with some staples. I love how some staples look on a page too. I think it just adds just another thing, a little bit of shine and a little bit of industrial metallic. I love that. I'm getting really heavy here, aren't I? So once I got that down, the layout was set. It's actually pretty simple. It was a little bit of cutting, but in terms of design, it came out really great. It was definitely one of my favorites that I've had for a while, and very different for me. I usually don't use a lot of floral pieces or make a shape out of pieces. At least I haven't for a while. I decided that I wanted to just add a little bit more, so I stamped kind of off to the side some of these star stamps. So it was just kind of a shadow and a hint of a little bit more of the stars around the page. I toyed around with writing some words really lightly around the page, but then I decided against it. I just thought, I also worry that I'm going to mess things up in the 11th hour. And so then the project is done. I hope that you enjoyed this. Feel free to ask any questions about my process or how I put this layout together in the comments here on the post. I'd be happy to help you with anything. And thanks for your time, and I'll see you later. Bye.